My mother was the Queen for a very long time. And although you kind of know that this might happen, you don't really think about it very much.
Princess Anne stepped forward, blocking Tom Parker Bowles at the gate. The moment was tense, the message unmistakable. He was not getting in. Gasps echoed through the crowd as conversations came to a halt. Guests exchanged stunned glances, struggling to comprehend what they had just witnessed. Tom, visibly caught off guard, hesitated for a moment. His face betrayed a mix of confusion and disbelief. Was this a misunderstanding, or something far more deliberate? Anne remained still, her expression unwavering. The air between them was thick with unspoken words. What had prompted such a bold move? Was it personal, or was Anne acting in defense of the monarchy's order? The situation had escalated before anyone could intervene. Then, just as the tension reached its peak, Tom's reaction left everyone speechless. But before we dive into this royal showdown, let's take a closer look at the man at the center of it all, Tom Parker Bowles. Tom Parker Bowles was born into aristocracy, but never truly belonged to the royal fold. As the son of Camilla and her first husband, Andrew Parker Bowles, he had noble lineage, but no official place within the monarchy. Despite his mother's rise to queen, Tom remained on the outside, never carrying a title or the expectations that came with it. His presence at royal events was a courtesy, not an obligation. Unlike William and Harry, who grew up under the public eye as heirs to the throne, Tom followed a different path. He built his career as a respected food critic and writer, immersing himself in the culinary world rather than the world of state affairs. He had no duties, no royal engagements, and no need to uphold the monarchy's image. His independence was undeniable, but it also set him apart. While William and Harry represented the future of the crown, Tom was seen as a private citizen with royal connections, nothing more. The media rarely treated him as part of the inner circle. He was neither celebrated nor scrutinized in the same way as the official royals. Instead, he was an afterthought, often mentioned only to his mother. Public perception painted him as an outsider, someone who could attend royal events but would never truly be part of the family's legacy. His casual demeanor, humorous personality, and lack of formal obligations made him stand out even more. His relationship with Camilla was affectionate but complex. She had spent years carefully navigating royal politics, ensuring her acceptance within the monarchy. But her son remained separate from that world. He was always supportive of her, yet he never conformed to the expectations that came with being linked to the throne. He wasn't groomed for diplomacy, and he never attempted to blend in. While Camilla worked to solidify her role beside King Charles, Tom remained happily detached from it all. His interactions with the royal family were minimal and, at times, awkward. He was never in direct conflict with them, but there was an undeniable distance. Unlike other royal in-laws who made efforts to assimilate, Tom continued to live by his own rules. He enjoyed his career, his lifestyle, and his independence. But did that make him a problem in the eyes of certain royals? Princess Anne, known for her strict adherence to tradition and protocol, had always been protective of the monarchy's structure. Did she see Tom as a threat to the family's image? His easygoing nature and nonchalant approach to royal events might have clashed with her unwavering commitment to duty. To Anne, the monarchy was not a place for outsiders who didn't respect its boundaries. And then came the moment that changed everything, when Princess Anne took matters into her own hands. And then came the moment that changed everything, when Princess Anne took matters into her own hands. The moment was raw, unfiltered, and impossible to ignore. Tom Parker Bowles stood at the entrance, expecting a routine welcome. Instead, he was met with a cold, immovable force. Princess Anne. She didn't speak, she didn't gesture. She simply stood her ground, her gaze locked onto him with unshakable determination. Tom hesitated, his usual confidence faltering. His confusion was evident, his posture stiff. A murmur rippled through the gathered crowd, guests exchanging hushed whispers as they watched the unprecedented scene unfold. The royal family had seen its fair share of scandals, but never had such a confrontation played out so publicly, so unflinchingly. Tom took a cautious step forward, an attempt to brush past the moment with quiet dignity. But Anne didn't move. Her stance remained firm, shoulders squared, eyes unwavering. She was not here to negotiate. A flicker of realization crossed Tom's face. This wasn't a misunderstanding, this was deliberate. His expression darkened, the weight of the moment sinking in. He had been stopped, blocked, denied. An energy shift swept through the crowd. Security personnel, sensing the tension, subtly moved closer, waiting for a cue to intervene. Event officials caught between duty and discomfort exchanged anxious glances. But no one dared to break the silence. This was a standoff between two powerful figures, and neither seemed willing to back down. Tom's lips parted as if to speak, but he hesitated, his breath catching in his throat. What could he say? What explanation could justify this? His hands clenched slightly at his sides, frustration creeping into his posture. The longer the moment stretched, the more humiliating it became. Meanwhile, the media scrambled. Cameras clicked, journalists whispered hurriedly into their microphones, their headlines practically writing themselves. This wasn't just a minor family dispute, it was a public display of power, a clash between tradition and modernity, and the implications were enormous. Had Anne planned this, or had she acted on impulse? If this was a calculated move, it meant there had been tensions brewing behind closed doors long before this event. If it was spontaneous, it spoke to a deep frustration, one that had finally reached its breaking point. As Tom stood frozen, an aide rushed to Queen Camilla, whispering the details of the incident. Her face remained controlled, but those who knew her well could see the tension tightening her jaw. This was a direct challenge not just to Tom, but to her position, her family, and everything she had worked to secure. The silence finally broke as a royal official stepped forward, attempting to mediate the situation. Tom exhaled slowly, his shoulders rising and falling in a controlled motion. Without another word, he turned sharply and walked away. The crowd parted, eyes following his every step. Anne remained still, her message sent loud and clear. Some called it bold, others called it ruthless, but no one could deny the significance of what had just happened. But what drove Princess Anne to such a bold and public move? The answer lies in her unwavering devotion to the monarchy. Princess Anne has always been the monarchy's enforcer, a guardian of tradition who refuses to compromise the institution's integrity. Her approach to royal protocol is strict, unwavering, and unapologetic. In her eyes, the monarchy is not a place for personal indulgence or casual affiliations. It is a duty, a responsibility that must be upheld without exception. So, when she blocked Tom Parker Bowles at the gate, it was not a random act, it was a statement. But what exactly was Anne trying to protect? Tom has never been part of the royal hierarchy, and that, in Anne's world, matters. He was born into aristocracy, not royalty. His presence at royal events is a courtesy, not an entitlement. While Camilla's ascension to queen changed her status within the monarchy, it did not alter the position of her children. They remained private citizens, separate from the throne. Yet, with Camilla's growing influence, the lines had started to blur. Did Anne view Tom as a threat to the monarchy's image? It's possible. He built a career based on independence, choosing a path far from the responsibilities of royal life. Unlike William and Harry, who were raised under the weight of duty, Tom had the freedom to live as he pleased. His informal demeanor, his connection to the Queen, and his casual interactions with the press may have made him an unpredictable factor, something Anne was determined to control. Then there was the matter of Camilla's rise. For decades, Camilla fought to gain acceptance within the royal family. She went from being an outsider to queen, but that battle came at a cost. It reshaped the monarchy's internal power structure. Some embraced the change while others resisted. Anne, who had always been a staunch protector of tradition, may have seen Tom's growing presence at royal events as an overreach, a step too far. Anne's history of defending the monarchy's reputation is well documented. She has always taken swift action when she perceives a risk, regardless of personal relationships. Unlike other members of the family who operate behind closed doors, Anne is direct. If she believes someone does not belong, she makes it known. And that may be exactly what happened at Windsor Castle. Was this a direct message to Camilla? It certainly seemed like one. While Anne has never openly challenged Camilla's position, this was different. It was a public display of control. A reminder that not everyone in the royal family agreed with the new order. By stopping Tom, Anne made it clear that Camilla may be queen, but her children would never be royals. The deeper question remains, was Anne preventing a royal mistake? History has shown that blending personal lives with royal affairs can lead to disaster. Perhaps Anne saw something others didn't, a looming problem, a risk that needed to be shut down before it escalated. But Anne isn't the only one with concerns. Behind closed doors, tensions between William and Camilla's children had been brewing for years. But Anne isn't the only one with concerns. Behind closed doors, tensions between William and Camilla's children had been brewing for years. Prince William has always been clear about one thing: Protecting the monarchy's image is his priority. As the future king, he understands the weight of tradition and the need for a controlled, disciplined royal structure. Unlike his father, King Charles, who has shown a willingness to modernize, William is determined to keep the monarchy's boundaries intact, and that includes drawing a firm line between the royal family and outsiders, even if those outsiders are the children of the Queen. William and Harry grew up in the shadow of their parents' turbulent marriage, and Camilla's presence in their lives was never easy to accept. While time may have softened some of the resentment, it never erased the reality of what had happened. For William, Camilla's children, Tom Parker Bowles and Laura Lopes, were always on the periphery. They were not part of the royal circle, and they were never seen as equals. Unlike other royal relatives who played visible roles in family affairs, Tom and Laura remained distant figures, appearing only when necessary. Camilla, ever the mediator, tried to bring them closer. She wanted harmony, a sense of unity between her family and the monarchy, but the resistance was undeniable. While Charles was willing to embrace a blended dynamic, others within the royal family were not. William, in particular, made it clear that the line between royalty and aristocracy could not be. Did William influence Anne's decision at the gate? It's a strong possibility. Anne and William share similar views on royal tradition, and both are known for their firm stance on protocol. If William had voiced concerns about Tom's increasing presence at royal functions, Anne would have listened. Her move at Windsor Castle may have been a direct response to those concerns, a public act that reinforced William's vision for the monarchy's future. Over the years, the friction between William and Camilla's children has only grown. As William prepares to take the throne in the future, he has tightened control over the monarchy's structure. He has distanced himself from extended family members who do not play an official role, and that includes Camilla's children. Unlike his father, who has always sought balance, William has shown little interest in integrating Tom and Laura into royal life. The incident at Windsor Castle was more than just a personal dispute. It was a reflection of the deeper divisions within the royal family. Tom Parker Bowles may not have sought a place in the monarchy, but his connection to Camilla made him a point of contention. William's reluctance to embrace him, combined with Anne's unwavering commitment to protocol, created the perfect storm. And as if the situation wasn't already tense, Camilla now found herself in an impossible position between her royal duty and her loyalty as a mother. And as if the situation wasn't already tense, Camilla now found herself in an impossible position between her royal duty and her loyalty as a mother. For decades, Camilla fought to be accepted. From the moment her relationship with Charles became public, she was cast as an outsider, someone who didn't belong in the carefully curated image of the royal family. Winning over the public was one battle, but gaining the trust of those inside the palace was an entirely different war. Even as she stood beside Charles as queen, some still saw her as a guest, rather than a permanent fixture in the monarchy. And now, as she watched her son being turned away at the gates, the reality of that divide had never been clearer. Camilla had always been fiercely protective of Tom and Laura. Unlike Charles, whose life revolved around royal obligations, Camilla had been a hands-on mother. She raised her children outside the pressures of the crown, ensuring they had normal lives despite their aristocratic status. But no matter how much she tried to shield them, their connection to her meant they would always be tied to the royal family, whether they wanted to be or not. When word reached her that Princess Anne had blocked Tom from entering the event, Camilla was faced with an impossible decision. Did she confront Anne and risk deepening the rift within the family, or did she stay silent, choosing loyalty to the monarchy over her son? Either choice came with consequences. Camilla had spent years proving her worth within the royal family. She knew that any public challenge to Anne would be seen as a disruption, a breach of the unity she had worked so hard to maintain. But standing by while her son was humiliated was equally unthinkable. For any mother, watching their child be rejected in such a public way would be unbearable. Her relationship with William had always been complicated. Though they maintained a respectful front, there were unspoken tensions that had never fully dissolved. William had grown up idolizing his mother, Princess Diana, and her painful history with Camilla was something that could never be erased. No matter how much time passed, there were boundaries between them that would never disappear. And now, with William taking a more dominant role in shaping the future of the monarchy, it was becoming clear that his vision did not include Camilla's children. For Camilla, the incident at Windsor Castle was more than just a moment of conflict. It was a painful reminder that she would never be fully embraced by the institution she had married into. Her title, her presence, and her role as queen did not extend to her children. The monarchy had made that clear. As she stood in the aftermath of the event, Camilla faced a reality that no title could change. She was a queen, but she was also a mother. And on this night, those two roles were impossible to reconcile. And this wasn't just about Camilla. This moment could change the very future of the monarchy. The events at Windsor Castle did more than just create a moment of tension. They sent a clear message about the future of the monarchy. Princess Anne's public stance against Tom Parker Bowles was not just about him. It was about control, hierarchy, and the firm boundaries that separate those within the royal institution from those who exist on its edges. The question now is, what happens next? Public perception of the royal family has always been a delicate issue, and this incident has only fueled the debate. For some, Anne's actions were justified, a necessary move to protect the monarchy from blurred lines and outside influence. But for others, it reinforced the idea that the royal family remains rigid and unwelcoming, even to those connected to it by blood. Tom Parker Bowles now finds himself at a crossroads. Does he respond, making his displeasure known, or does he fade into the background, choosing silence over confrontation? Throughout his life, he has never sought to be a public figure in the royal world. He has built his career and remained largely detached from palace affairs. But being turned away in such a public fashion may not be something he can ignore. Meanwhile, this incident could mark a shift in how William controls royal access. As he prepares for his future role as king, William is already making it clear that he intends to maintain strict order within the monarchy. Could he begin drawing even sharper lines, deciding who is truly allowed within royal spaces? His stance has already caused friction with some extended family members. If this incident is any indication, those boundaries may become even more defined in the years ahead. And then there is King Charles. His silence on the matter has been deafening. Did he quietly approve of Anne's decision, or is he simply choosing to avoid conflict? Charles has always balanced tradition with modernity, and his deep love for Camilla suggests he may not have supported this public exclusion of her son. But if he disagrees, will he challenge Anne? Or will he let this moment set a new precedent for how non-royal family members are treated at official events? If Anne's actions stand unchallenged, they could shape future royal events in ways no one expected. The monarchy has long been defined by who is in and who is out, but the modern era has blurred those lines. This moment may push the institution back toward its rigid past, where access is strictly controlled and personal connections mean nothing if they do not align with royal protocol. Charles and Camilla's reign is already navigating uncharted waters. This incident, though seemingly personal, has political weight. It could dictate how Camilla's influence is perceived and how William and Anne assert their vision for the monarchy moving forward. The royal family thrives on tradition, but tradition alone cannot secure its future. Is this the beginning of a major power shift? Has Anne, with one bold move, set the tone for a monarchy that will grow even more exclusive? Or will this backlash force the family to reconsider its stance? And while the world speculates about the monarchy's future, the public response to this moment was nothing short of explosive. The moment Princess Anne blocked Tom Parker Bowles at the gate, the world took notice. Within hours, headlines exploded across major news outlets, dissecting every detail of the incident. Footage of the confrontation spread rapidly, played on repeat by broadcasters analyzing body language, expressions, and unspoken messages. The British press, known for its relentless scrutiny of the royal family, wasted no time in framing the event as a power move, one that could have lasting consequences. Social media was even more unforgiving. Within minutes, the internet was flooded with reactions. Some praised Anne, calling her the monarchy's last true defender, the only one willing to uphold tradition without compromise. Others condemned her, labeling the act as unnecessary, cold, and even humiliating for Camilla and her family. Memes surfaced, with some jokingly portraying Anne as the royal gatekeeper, while others framed Tom as the outcast who was never truly welcome. Debates raged online. Was this an intentional effort to remind Camilla's children of their place, or was it a personal grudge playing out on the world stage? Many royal watchers pointed out that Anne had always been the monarchy's enforcer, unafraid to make hard decisions for the sake of tradition. But had she taken it too far this time? The monarchy, for all its carefully maintained image, was now caught in a storm of public opinion. This incident disrupted the tightly controlled narrative that King Charles and Queen Camilla had worked so hard to maintain. While Camilla had spent years solidifying her acceptance, this single moment threatened to undo much of that progress. Could the Queen's children ever truly be embraced, or would they forever remain on the outside? The divide in public sentiment was stark. Traditionalists saw Anne's actions as necessary, a reminder that the monarchy should not bend its rules for personal ties. To them, Tom was simply an aristocrat, not a royal, and had no business being given access to exclusive royal spaces. Others, however, viewed the act as outdated and unnecessarily harsh, further alienating a younger generation already skeptical of the monarchy's relevance. For many, this moment represented something much larger than a single confrontation. It symbolized a monarchy at a crossroads, struggling between tradition and the reality of a modern, evolving world. With William's influence growing, Anne's firm stance, and Charles's uncertain position, the institution faced a crucial question. Should it remain rigidly exclusive or adapt to changing times? As the public debated, one thing was clear: this was no ordinary royal spat. This was a turning point. Would this incident fade into the background as another scandal in the long history of royal drama, or had it ignited a shift that would reshape the monarchy's future? For now, the world watches, waiting to see what happens next. The monarchy has always been built on legacy and tradition, but in the modern world, is that enough to survive?